All right, we're going live.
Yeah. Welcome to the Success Agents Podcast, where we deliver weekly guests that bring insight to the elements of your business to become more profitable with knowledge, skills, and tools that help you with automation so that you have less procrastination. With your hosts, Chris Parsons and JP Fluellen.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Success Agent Podcast. My name's Chris. I'm with my co-host JP Fluellen, and thanks again for joining. You can catch us live here on Facebook every single Wednesday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, LinkedIn, pretty much anywhere you can find us. Now, last week we had special guest John Babin. John is a franchise owner, and he's also a certified home inspector for the Northern Colorado area. And we talked all things about home inspections, from how to find a good inspector that you can constantly recommend to your clients, and also the obvious things to watch out for before even suggesting to put an offer on a home with your clients. This week it's just going to be JP and myself again. And we're going to talk about the top 3 reasons why real estate agents don't grow and they get stuck in this rut. A lot of times I talk to agents and they're constantly in this grinding mentality and they just get stuck and they can't seem to grow their business. Now, before we get started, I want to ask you, JP, when was the last time that you were stuck and really just feeling unable to grow? And what was that like for you?
Well, okay, so when I got stuck really came down to when I realized that there's only so many hours in a day, and you're limited to one is your mental stability in this business, because it can definitely grind on you for sure. And you can run into a situation where you do all of your business during the day and then you do all of your paperwork at night.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was running ragged and I was working till 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night, and really had no idea how to get out of that. Cause I was like, well, I love this business. I love what it can do for you and your family. But when you start reaching your stride in this business, you can get into a point where you run out of time. And I was listening to a podcast and they were telling the audience, you got to start looking at this business as a business, instead of, you're working for your brokerage and you are using their resources and then it's just you. And so I didn't even know anything about like hiring an assistant or doing any of that kind of thing. And it's funny because I was like one of the first agents in our area to start hiring an assistant, in the sense of taking all of those non-income producing activities off of your plate, which i.e. paperwork.
Yeah.
And so it was just weird because I hired an assistant and other people started hiring assistants, and then, and I was like, well, I don't know if they're just hiring assistants because I'm doing it or if it's just for the sake of hiring an assistant. And then when they saw that you can leverage production through doing what you do best and having an assistant to take those things off your plate, then you can take your business to the next level. And when I did that, I actually doubled my business the next year.
Oh, so you're saying hiring assistant was the biggest, was your problem solving for a lack of time?
Correct.
Gotcha. So most agents weren't doing that. Why do you think that is?
One is, I don't think they look at their business as a business. They look at it as, oh, I'm a real estate agent. It's like, oh, well, I'm a sandwich artist at Subway. Like, that's like, they're looking at it from, this is the label that you have in terms of what your roles are. So they're looking at it as you have a job title as a real estate agent, not I have a real estate business and I'm just playing a role within that business.
Gotcha. What makes it so like what are for you when you wanted to treat it like a business, what was it like before you made that decision? And then obviously you hired the assistant and we can get into that a little bit more. But what was it like you before when you didn't treat it as a business? Like what does that mean?
So you're looking at it as you get up at 8, you start working, you go to work, you set your schedule for the day, and then you do your paperwork, you turn it in, and you're done. And you just do that routine every single day. So however many deals you got on the board, you just, all I was doing was like, okay, I have this many things going on right now. These are how many deals are closing. These are the dates that they're closing on. And I just kind of ran through, each individual contract, and then just basically looking at it from contract to close, and that was just kind of the routine. I would just look at, okay, this is how many deals I need to do to make the kind of money I want to make. And I would just make sure that these are the, inspection dates and all these things, just kind of running through, making sure my calendar was full and just kind of running through that routine as that's my job. I'm a real estate agent and I'm going to make sure that every deal that I have goes from contract to close. And I wasn't looking at it as, you know, income coming in, expenses, looking at it from, what is my P&Ls look like, profit and loss statements, things like that, looking at it from, okay, when I close this deal, how much of this income can I put back into my business to grow it to the next level? So thinking about it in terms of like, having a growth path. So if I'm going to going from 2 or 3 deals a month to going to 4 to 5 deals a month, how does that look? I was really just winging it. I was like, just, like,
Aren't
oh,
we
well,
all?
I probably should just, maybe I should advertise. Maybe I should do some more things than what my
Yeah.
broker is doing for me. Maybe I'll do some of that. So
Hmm.
then I would just like, okay, well, I can probably afford $200 a month. So then I would take $200 a month and use that dedicated to lead gen. And then I would just go back to my own thing. And I wasn't thinking about it as systems,
Right.
processes,
Okay.
you know, you know, figuring out basically how to hack the system. Like, how can I leverage? How can I use other people? How can I advertise? How can I use these different tools that are afforded to me to take my business to the next level? So that's where I wasn't thinking about it like that. I was thinking about it as, you know, hi, welcome to Walmart. My name is,
Right.
and I wasn't thinking about it as, um, that there is a business behind this. Like it's, there's all the components of, startup costs and having a budget and having a certain amount of money allocated for certain things and looking at it from, okay, well, how many um, phone calls do I need to make to set how many appointments to get to so many deals, and it's a mathematical formula, but you don't look, a lot of people don't go into getting a real estate license as it's a business. They're like, someone walked up to them at Starbucks and said, "Hey, I think you'd make a really good realtor." And they're like, "Oh, you think? Hey, what does that take?" "Oh, go to school for a week and then here's your license and get after it, and then they're like, "Oh, crap, there's all this other stuff like allocating a certain percentage of every deal you do for taxes, and all of these kinds of things that
Hmm.
you just don't think of when you're like, well, if I worked for the state, that's not how they do it there, like, they're not looking at it like a business, you
So
know?
it's not really like it's not so much like the routine that makes the business. That's what people get. Like that's obviously your building blocks, your routine. So the routine is super important to have down, but it's more so like the mindset behind it, how you're looking at where your funds are going, what's coming in, what's going out, and how can you increase that number and base those goals on, like you said, a mathematical formula. That's kind of what you're talking about when you're saying that's how you make it look like a business, or that's how you treat it like a business.
Yeah. There's a good book, and I know everyone's read it, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by
Uh,
Keller Williams. That, I mean, it is a mathematical formula. Some of the numbers they're talking about in that book are probably a little dated for the time that book came out, but the principles still remain the same. Like you have to have so many calls, which equals so many appointments, which equals so many closings. And then, you go from that to, building a team and having so many agents. And then you have so many agents making so many calls and have so many leads coming in. And then there's a lot of other little details in there, like making sure that, there's some sort of checks and balances and accountability in there. Because you don't want to just lead gen for the sake of genning, because you're not going to take your business anywhere. You're just going to spend a lot of money and have it flushed down the toilet. So,
Right.
and nobody likes flushing, especially if you don't use toilet paper. So that's just, gross. Just gross. And it's expensive. So,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I have four little kids, and when there's too much toilet paper going down in there, then you got to pay for a plumber to come out and fix that issue. So it gets expensive.
That's enough potty talk, Jake.
There you go. Nobody likes potty talk. So
No. So what would be like the top 3 reasons then that agents aren't growing their business?
So number one is going back to what we were just talking about, looking at your business as a business. So if you were going to start any kind of startup, you're going to have upfront costs. So thinking about, oh, well, and the thing is also looking at this business as a full-time business. This is not a hobby. Because if you look at it as a hobby, you're doing your clients a disservice. If you're trying to juggle another job, you're doing your clients a disservice, or you're doing your leads a disservice. I'm a lead. I'm like on the phone trying to reach out to a real estate agent. You're not available because you're juggling another job. There are a few people that I've met that have made a very successful transition, but one is their other job was super flexible and on salary, and they make their own hours. So really they were double dipping.
Right.
But if you have an hourly job and you're trying to juggle real estate, I think you're still doing your clients a disservice. So looking at it from, putting all of your energy and effort into this business will reward you long term. I mean, it's just it's amazing how, if you just dive all the way in, how the real estate business will reward you back. It's almost improportionate. Like, you put energy in and it comes back almost twice as much. It's kind of weird how that works. The other thing is, so number one, looking at it as a business. Number two is taking control of your schedule, filling in all of your white space on your schedule. So if you have white space in there, those are opportunities that you're losing on how to grow your business. So many times I hear from agents, oh, well, I'm not busy, and I don't know why I don't have any deals going on right now. And I'm like, well, what are you doing all day? Like, let's take a look at your schedule. Are you getting up? Are you, what if you work from home, are you turning your computer on and are you screwing around on Facebook? Or if you are on Facebook, are you posting with a purpose? So, turning a non-income producing activity into an income producing activity. So you're active on your groups, you're responding to people in your feed. Is your profile picture branded with your business? Simple things like that, where it's subtle, but yet it's a purpose. It's purposeful. So a good friend of mine who actually was a guest on this podcast is talking about this process called 369, where you have 3 direct messages to your people on Facebook, which is your sphere ish. You do 6 responses, and you do 9 likes, or 9, whatever they're calling them now. Engagements. So, and if you do that every single day, you're going to get some business, and those are free leads. For those of you that don't know, those are free leads. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything but time to go on there and do this stuff with a purpose. So the first one is treat it like a business. The second one is fill up your schedule. And a lot of people hate this. I hear this a lot, time blocking. people like, there's people that I've talked to that are just like, I hate time blocking because then it says that I have to make phone calls for 2 hours or whatever. You don't have to make phone calls for 2 hours. You can do it for 10 minutes. Make 5 calls today. Like, if you make 5 calls today, 5 days a week, that's 25 calls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's not, rocket science. And again, it goes back to the millionaire real estate agent where it's a mathematical formula for success. You make your calls, you set your appointments, and you're going to get the results. Like, that's just it's that simple, but we try to, as real estate agents, we're like, well, I'm not a salesperson and, whatever. And I'm like, look at your license. It says sales associate on there, or in Colorado, everybody's a broker. So whatever you want to call it, but it still, says that you're in the sales game.
Right.
Like, if you don't want to be in sales, then get out of the business.
Well, it's not even that. There's a lot of mental block with sales. And there's a really good book on it by Daniel Pink. It's called Selling is Human. And really, selling is just persuasion. And if you do anything, if you interact with anyone, you're most likely trying to persuade them to do something, even if it's like taking out the trash or doing the dishes, to listing your home with me. That's all persuasion, and that's all sales is. So there's a lot of negative vocalizations about sales when there really shouldn't be. It's just a way of life.
Yeah, it's like the Grant Cardone talks about the best sale he ever made was when he sold his wife Elena, and he took 2 years. 2 years.
Right.
And the first year she didn't want to have anything to do with this guy because she's like, short, he's old, I don't want to have anything to do with him. And he just kept being persistent. I mean, not creepy, but still persistent,
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be like sending text messages at 1 a.m. and be like, I was just thinking about you. Okay, that was weird.
Things you can keep to yourself.
Yeah, like, don't talk about that on a podcast. That's just weird. But, it's like the things that you do every day is some sort of sales pitch. Like, my wife has to sell me on going to the grocery store to go get groceries because I hate it. Like, it just, when I'm walking around pushing a cart, it just sucks the living life out of me, dude. Like, it's like, can you go get some toilet paper? Can you go get some soap? And can you get 5 things of Campbell's soup? And, and so to me, it's just like, first of all, it's the mental process of trying to get to the grocery store. Then it's the walking around. Then I have to track the list.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on how busy it is, I either have to do self-checkout or they check it out. And then there's always a guy like behind the counter and like, hello, sir. How's it going today? Dude, you have no idea how much it took for me to just get here today. You don't even want to know my story, And then he's like, okay, well, did you check your eggs? No, I didn't check my eggs. I ain't got time for that. I still got time to get groceries, man. I like, and then he's like, would you like me to check them for you? Well, why'd you ask? Just check them, dude. Come on. Like, and then you check out and you're like, you saved 42 cents today. Have a great day. He's like, dude, get out of here. Like, so there's that. So, okay. So taking control of your schedule, treating it like a business. And the third thing that I think gets in the way of your growth in real estate is that you're dependent on other people for your success. If you're showing up, you're taking control of your schedule, but yet you're expecting either your phone to just randomly ring, or you're expecting some sort of walk-in in your, a lot of these real brokerages have floor time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're expecting to get your business through that, then that's not the right attitude to have. And if you're on a team, that you're expecting the team to carry your entire business. And, contrary to popular belief, teams are there for the nurturing, the coaching, the training, they do provide some leads, but they're not going to be able to carry your entire business. Otherwise, they would not have a team. Because if they're spending all of their expenses and resources to make you a full-time agent without any of your own effort, then, you know, they could just keep those resources and be able to grow their team by X, you know, or not even have a team, just grow it, you know, organically and through their own efforts and resources instead of sharing it. Because, you know, I had somebody on my team once that was like, oh, well, I just thought that they were just gonna, you know, it was like they were just gonna just, you know, be my business for me. And I was like, well, that's the wrong attitude to have, because if that's the case, then, you know, it's going to, you know, the whole dynamic of how the system is set up is going to be way different. Like if you want me to carry your business, I can do that, but the pay structure is going to be way different, you know, and because, you know, leads cost money, you know, and that's the other thing too, is like, you know, if you're expecting other people to carry your business, you know, that's not the right attitude to have. You should also invest in your business. So I have agents on my team that will, you know, they have their own lead gen in addition to the team's generated lead gen. So they can double down, you know. So, and the other thing too is like when you're thinking about growing your business too, is that if you're only thinking about your sphere and not thinking about new business, you know, then your sphere has a finite number.
Right.
So you want to, so really what I tell my folks is that the breakdown is you want a third, a third, a third. And I can't take full credit for that because I'm not that smart. But I learned that from another podcast, but he was like, you need a third, a third, a third. So you want a third of your business to be leads, which when we say leads, we're talking about online leads. And then you want a third of your business to be your sphere. And then you want a third of your business to be cold calls. So these are people that, you know, whether it's through, I know like in Colorado, you guys can use systems like RedX and all these other ones that go through all the public data and basically funnel them all into one source. Whereas in Wyoming, we're a non-disclosure state, so none of those systems work. So we have to like generate all of our stuff through, you know, casting the widest net and then bringing them all in. So it's a little bit challenging in that regard. But it also makes us good at what we do so that we're not just relying on, you know, technology in every aspect to churn over business. So with that being said, you know, in the sense of cold calls, it's, you know, getting involved in things that you're not involved with already. So whether it's, you know, Kiwanis or Knights of Columbus or any of these clubs, or, you know, going to church and getting involved in volunteering and things like that, and trying to draw up business through colder sources than just people that you've already known and asking for referrals. So if you have a well-balanced business like that, you're always going to continue to grow and move forward. I think what happens is that agents aren't disciplined enough to make sure that their heads are in the right mindset each and every day, you know. And well, and there's one more thing too, on top of that balance. I would say the fourth most important thing is that real estate is a lifestyle. It is not a job. So if you think you can turn it on and turn it off, then you don't have the right mindset, because you start getting into this idea of turning it on and turning it off. You know, this is not like a sitcom where you can get the reruns later. Like business typically is, you know, I want to talk to somebody now. You know, we're in a state of mind and a climate where we have no patience. And our agents are thinking that, you know, well, if it's my business, then I can, you know, I have office hours. Well, you're thinking of it in terms of a job, not a lifestyle. You know, like if you want to be a philanthropist and you want to give, you don't just shut that off. If you want to be a pilot and someone needs to take a flight at midnight, you don't just say, yeah, that flight's canceled.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing that today. You know, um, I think of it as like if you want to be a professional sports athlete, like you are on the job when you're doing the game. But when you're not doing the game, then you're training and you're lifting weights and you're thinking about ways to do things better and more efficient. And that's the way you got to look at real estate is that it's like a muscle. You have to exercise it, you have to use it, you got to challenge it, and then that's how you become the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what Bruce Lee said. It's not I fear the guy that does one kick 1,000 times versus knowing 1,000 different kicks.
Right.
And so that's where, you know, real estate as a lifestyle. So you got to just keep thinking of that in the back of your mind. So that's it, man.
Cool. Well, guys, we'll just wrap this up now. Listen, we're always looking for fresh guests, fresh blood on this podcast, some experts in your area. So give us a reach out if you know anyone. Also, if you like our content, definitely check us out on the other platforms, but give us a review or a like or a share. Anything would help. We do this for free, just for you guys. So the more we can get this out, the better. JP, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So if you want a free 30-minute coaching call, you can give me a call at 307-772-1184. Or I believe my Calendly link is in the notes. You can just click on that and
We got your Clixo.
And my Clixo, CLYXO /J Fluellen. All of my social links are there. And if you can't remember any of that, just go to Google JP Fluellen, and I'm everywhere.
All right, guys. And if you want to get a hold of me, I like to keep it simple. Just message me directly on Facebook, or you can send me an email at chris.successagent@gmail.com. Until next week, thanks for coming on, JP.
All right, man. Catch you next week.
I'll see you.